Some information about release bearing noise or release bearing rattle. So the release bearing should always be in contact with the pressure plate. Why? Because if the pressure plate are spinning, the clutch are spinning with the engine RPM, and the release bearing are not, because they are not in contact, the release bearing will be 0 RPM. Imagine engine 5000 RPM, and the release bearing are and the clutch are engaged, which in turn will press on the clutch mechanism and press the release bearing to the 5000 RPM clutch. When the release bearing are 0 RPM, it will touch the pressure plate spinning and try to spin up to 5000 RPM as fast as possible. This will mean much mechanical wear between the pressure plate spring and the release bearing itself. So this is the first issue we have with the alignment of release bearing. Always make sure it's in contact with the pressure plate. Another issue with the release bearing not being fully engaged with the pressure plate is that you can have some noise or rattle because the bearing are not fully in contact, just a little bit, and the bearing itself can be a little wiggly, and this is perfectly normal when it's not pressurized. So if you have some pressure, just a little bit of pressure, it will be fully okay. But if you loosen it up by 1 millimeter, then you will be able to hear some noise because it will be able to move and the bearing itself will make some noise. So always be sure your release bearing are in contact with the pressure plate. One thing and one problem that can be and cause the release bearing to retract from the pressure plate just a little bit, just so that you get this noise I'm talking about, it's when you're releasing the clutch pedal back to normal or the resting position, the system will retract the release bearing too much. This is why it's important to have an adjustment or some kind of adjustment made to the mechanism, so the release bearing always have a little bit of pressure when the clutch pedal is in its resting position. So this is how you can visually know how the release bearing should sit to your pressure plate.